Hey friends, my name is Jonathan and I am obsessed with fast food. Okay, so it's actually been a while since I've eaten there, but I am obsessed with the stuff that goes with fast food. Turns out it's all got quite a history, and we'll be exploring that together. Starting with the shocking truth about the Happy Meal that I think you probably don't know. See, McDonald's would prefer you believe the Happy Meal started with them in 1979 with the national campaign, but that just isn't true. In the 1950s, there started a burger chain called Burger Chef, an all-American flame-broiled burger stand. And as they evolved, they started to include toys and trinkets with their meals, so that by 1973 they had perfected something called the Fun Meal. See, fun was Burger Chef's word. They had the Fun Burger, so now they had the Fun Meal. Fun, fun, fun. And the Fun Meal included fun comics and fun games on a fun tray where you could put in your drinks and your fries and your hamburgers, which are all also fun. So let's take a closer look at that Fun Meal tray. Up here you'll see some Halloween-themed comics. This is from a 1973 box. There's the punch-out circles to put your fries, drink, and hamburger. You can see the use of the Fun Meal name there. On the bottom, more comics. And on the top flap, one of my favorite features, a punch-out mask of Krankenberger. But I think it's probably just Krankenberger's monster. All of those were kid-sized portions, and the meal came with a toy. Again, this was 1973, a full 6 years before the Happy Meal would go national. Speaking of the Happy Meal really got started in 1975. That's about the earliest year you could put it at. That's because that's right around the time Guatemalan franchisee Yolanda Fernandez de Cofino started to put together the Menu Ronald, or the Guatemalan kid-sized meal, so that children there didn't have to worry about not finishing the adult-sized stuff. That kids meal then traveled to Bob Bernstein, who was a marketer here in the US. Bob had a long history with McDonald's, and he knew that the McDonald's word was happy. Burger Chef got fun, so McDonald's got happy. For example, in 1971, Bob Bernstein came up with the Happy Cup. Not part of the Happy Meal or anything like that. This was well before that creation, but it was a fun little promotional cup you could get in McDonald's. So in 1977, Bob Bernstein gets this meal and is tasked with what to do with it. According to Bernstein, he knew exactly what to do after seeing his son play with the back of his cereal box. Backs of cereal boxes have notoriously contained games that kids could play or little comics they could read while they're digesting their breakfast. And Bernstein thought, well, what if a Happy Meal had the same thing? At that point, children's author Sims Tabak was brought in to design the actual Happy Meal box. What he came up with was an animal-themed, playful box with lots to look at. Once completed, Bernstein combined the box with the kid-sized portion and a small little toy, really just a McDonald's-themed eraser or small little trinket, and sold it to regional markets, mainly in the Midwestern United States. Now this was 1977, which was the same year Burger Chef brought in a meal for the ages. There was a little independent film that came out that year. You might have heard of it, Star Wars? Well, Burger Chef, picking up on the hit movie of the year, decided to model a fun meal after it. Now these are some of the most desirable containers in kids meal history. They were Star Wars themed, they contained comics, all around the little trays, along with of course the traditional holes for you to put your drink and your fries and your burger. While they did not come with Star Wars themed toys, they did come with toys, little racers that you could play with. Now you might be thinking, even a regional McDonald's meal must have outweighed a national Burger Chef one, right? Well, in the 1970s, Burger Chef and McDonald's were actually neck and neck competition-wise. The only reason you don't hear that so much now is, well, we'll get to that. Point is, the Star Wars Fun Meal was a hit for Burger Chef, and while the Happy Meal was taking off, it was still only available in some states. As the years went on, McDonald's used its comic strip in the Chicago Tribune to reference the Happy Meal, ultimately announcing its 1979 national campaign there. In '79, its first national campaign was the Circus Happy Meal, which essentially expanded the regional offering for the entire nation, with a redesigned box. But by the end of the year, McDonald's realized that it was time to do something licensed. Star Wars was already taken, but what other movie had star in its name? Star Trek, the motion picture. It had just come out that year, and it seemed like the perfect offering. Therefore, McDonald's drew up the boxes, which contained fun comics and games, and thus the Star Trek meal was born. Here's a quick closer look at the Star Trek meal box. Couple little games there on one side, comics on the other reminiscent of the Fun Meal comics, but obviously for a different property. And some more games on the other side, and my favorite feature, a burping Enterprise right up here. The Star Trek meal featured 6 boxes like this, technically 5 as advertised, but there was a 6th one because of a variant, and these were out late in 1979. Now notice I didn't say Star Trek Happy Meal. That's because McDonald's didn't actually call it that. In all official documentation, such as translates in the box itself, it is referred to as the Star Trek meal, removing the word happy from the equation. I can't imagine what would take happy out of the Star Trek meal. This national rollout was successful, and through the 80s, McDonald's would only escalate its success with the Happy Meal. So much so that by now, I'll bet you refer to a kid's meal as a Happy Meal. We just can't help but associate it with McDonald's. So what happened to Burger Chef? Well, if the early 1970s saw prosperity for Burger Chef, the end of the 1970s was exactly the opposite. In 1978, the Burger Chef murders took place at an Indiana Burger Chef restaurant, and while that unspeakable tragedy was not the cause of Burger Chef's failure, it also was not the best omen. In 1979, Burger Chef sued McDonald's over the creation of the Happy Meal and lost. This caused Burger Chef's numbers to dwindle so much so that by 1996, the final one was converted into a Pleasers in Cookeville, Tennessee. As they say, history is written by the victors, and if there was one, McDonald's was it. Their success with the Happy Meal, now a global phenomenon, makes them #1, and all other history has become more or less a footnote. However, we owe it to Burger Chef and those early fun meal designs to credit them with the concept. There's so much that went into all that early fun meal stuff, from rings to toys to boxes, that we just can't forget it. We all like to think company innovation springs sui generis from 1 or 2 people's heads, but in reality it just doesn't work like that. Innovation happens within the context of its time, and I believe the Fun Meal and Happy Meal are examples of that. So next time you're in a McDonald's picking up your favorite Happy Meal, just remember to give a nod of thanks to Burger Chef. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me on this first YouTube adventure. The plan is to roll out more videos around prototypes, concept art, all from the fast food space that I have from my personal collection seen nowhere else. If that sounds interesting to you, there's a couple of ways we can support each other and build a little community here. If you feel we click, go ahead and like and share the video and subscribe to the page. That way you'll never miss an update on what's coming. In the comments below, there's also other social media platforms that you can follow me on. Please feel free to connect on there as well. That's all that's in this fast food toy file, but remember, there's many more to go. Until next time, open your toys.